Hi and welcome to my channel. My name is Favor, and in today's tutorial we're going to be learning how to make these cute Halloween shorts. So let's get right into this tutorial. So these are the materials we'll be needing for this tutorial. We'll be needing some stitch markers. I'll be using a size 5mm hook, okay? A size 5mm hook, and you'll be needing a yarn needle, a pair of scissors, your measuring tape, and then we'll be needing our yarn, of course. These are the two colors of yarn I'll be using for this tutorial. This is a fingering lightweight yarn, and I'll be using 2 strands of each. So I will also be using this called APPLIQUE for this tutorial. I currently have just 3, but I'll be needing a total of 6. Okay, so if you want to know how to make these, the link for the tutorial is in the description. You can go ahead and watch that. So that will be all for the materials we'll be needing. So let's dive right into the tutorial. So to get started, I'll be starting with the purple yarn, and like I said, I'll be using 2 strands of the fingering lightweight yarn, as you can see, and you can use any hook size and yarn of your choice. It's totally up to you. All right, so the first thing we are going to do is to make our slip knot. So you place your yarn on your hook like so, twist it around once, yarn over, pull through, and then pull on that tail to secure it. So this is your slip knot. Once we have our slip knot, the next thing to do is to make chains. So we are going to make a chain that is going to be around 3.5 inches without stretch. Okay, so 1, 2, 3. So this is my chain without stretching. You can see from here to here is around 3.5, almost 4 inches. Okay, and I have a total of 15 chains. Okay, and as you can see, I'm just laying it flat and measuring. You don't need to stretch the chain while measuring. So after you have your chain the length that you want it to be, the next thing to do now is to insert your hook into the second chain from your hook and make a single crochet stitch there. Once you have this single crochet, insert your hook by the side loop of this single crochet and make another single crochet there. So now we have 2 single crochets stacked on each other. Okay, so this gives us the height for our starting stitch. So this is going to represent a half double crochet. So at this point now, we'll place half double crochet on all of the stitches until we get to the end of the row. So you just yarn over into the next chain space, insert your hook there and make a half double crochet stitch. Okay, yarn over into the next chain space, you make a half double crochet stitch. So you just keep repeating this process, yarn over into the next chain space, pull up a loop, and then pull through all loops on your hook. That is your half double crochet stitch. So you're just going to keep doing this all the way until you get to the end of the row, which is the very last chain that you have here. So at the end of the row, this is what you should have. Okay, so the next thing to do now is to chain 1, turn your work, and into, you can see how the stitches are at the back of your work. Okay, you can see there are V's facing you, and when you kind of look at the top, you will see the other V's on top. These are the actual top of your stitches, not this one behind here like so. So at this top of the stitches, we are going to be picking only the back loop only. Okay, so you can see there are 2 at the top of the stitch, so you pick only the one behind. So that is how we are going to be making the rib stitches for this. Okay, so after your first chain 1, into that very first stitch, you make a single crochet with working on that back loop. Okay, so once you make your single crochet, by the side of that single crochet, you make another single crochet. So this is 2 single crochets stacked on each other. So take note that this is the stitch we are going to be doing at the beginning of every row. Alright, so once you have that now, that is your first stitch. You yarn over into the second stitch. Like I said, the back loop only, you're going to pick there and make your next half double crochet. Yarn over into the next stitch, picking only on the back loops, make another half double crochet. Yarn over into the next stitch, pick on the back loop, and then make another half double crochet. And you're just going to keep doing this half double crochet all the way until you get to the very last stitch there. Alright, okay, so I'm at the end of that row and I just have 1 stitch left to finish. So like I said, the back loop only, make your last half double crochet there. So you want to make sure that you picked all the stitches from the previous row. So you should have the same number of stitches on your first row and on your second row. All right, so once you have this now, the next thing for us to do is to repeat row 2 all over again. So to do that, you chain 1, turn your work. Okay, like I said, we are picking the top of the stitches and we are picking only the back loop only. So into the very first stitch, you make 2 single crochets stacked on each other. So this is the first single crochet into that back loop, and then by the side of that single crochet, you make another single crochet, making it 2 single crochets stacked on each other. Yarn over into the next stitch, at the back loop there, you place a half double crochet. Yarn over into the next stitch, pick on the back loop and make a half double crochet. Just a repetition of row 2. You pick only on the back loops until you get to the end of the row. Okay, and this is the pattern we want to repeat over and over and over, row after row, until we have this enough to be our waist size. All right, so I'm just going to keep doing this until I have it a total length of about 28 inches. Okay, when it is being stretched. So this is the very last stitch here. so you can see what it looks like. So this is how we are just going to keep repeating this like so all the way, so that when you place your tape and measure and you want to stretch, you place your tape flat, you place it on top and you stretch while you measure. Okay, you should be able to measure it. So you want to take your tape and measure around your waist. When you measure around your waist, you get your waist measurement, and then we're going to keep doing this until this is enough to be our waist measurement when we stretch it. So just go ahead and keep repeating this row after row until we have that. Okay, so at this point now I've made my waistband the length I want it to be. Like I said, I'll be making for a size 28 waist, so my waist is size 20 is 28 inches, okay, when I measured it. And this waistband, like I said, will be using a stretched measurement, and this is what I mean. You lay your tape flat and then you place your waistband across the tape, like so. You can see right now it's around 24 inches, which is 4 inches less than 28 that I want it to be. All right, all you have to do is just to stretch it. You stretch it and then you leave it and rearrange it again. So you can see right now it has stretched up to that 28 inches, which I actually need it to be. So that is how to get the actual waist measurement that you need for this. So after you've gotten this, now the next thing for us is to fold it, join it, and start making the body of the shorts. All right, so after that, now what we are going to do is to join. Okay, so you want to fold the two together like so. Okay, so you fold it and then we are going to join these two ends together. So you want to make sure that you choose a right and wrong side at this point. So this is going to be the right side of my work. Okay, this is going to be my wrong side, so I'll turn it over so that the right side is facing me. All right, and then I'm going to fold it on top of it, so the right side is inside and this is the wrong side of my work. All right, so once you folded, now the next thing for us to do is to join this end. So to do that, we are going to make single crochet all the way across. So since my yarn is at this point now, all I have to do is to pick the very first stitch here. Okay, if your yarn is already on this side, you just pick the first stitch behind on the other side and then you just make a slip stitch there. Okay, so now what you're going to do is to pick onto the next stitch and then pick on the corresponding stitch on the other side as well. Okay, and then you make a slip stitch like so. Now we're going to do that again. You pick on the next stitch, pick on the corresponding stitch on the back side and then make a slip stitch there. So you're just going to keep doing this on all of the stitches until you get to the end of the row. Okay, so at this point I've made the slip stitch all the way to the end. Okay, once you've made the very last slip stitch, you just want to chain one, pull up a loop and then cut off your remaining excess yarn, because we are done with this part of the shorts. Okay, so this is what your joining is going to look like on the wrong side, and this is what it would look like on the right side of your work. Okay, so still on the wrong side, we are going to now attach our second color and start making the body of the shorts. So to start attaching the next color, now we are going to look for the very top here where we fasten off. You can see this space here, which is the top of the stitch where we used to join. You insert your hook there, and that is where you want to attach your second color of yarn. So now after you've attached your yarn, the next thing we're going to do is that we are going to make 2 single crochets stacked on each other into that very same space where we made where we attached our yarn. Okay, so into that same very space where we attached our yarn, we are going to make 1 single crochet. Then by the side of that single crochet, you make another 1 single crochet. So now we have 2 single crochets stacked on each other, just like when we were working for the band. So this is going to be the stitch we make at the beginning of every row. Okay, so now when you look at this, now you can see this stitch here, which is the first stitch for this row. We are going to be placing 2 half double crochet into that stitch. So yarn over, you put your hook in between the stitch like so and make a half double crochet. So that's 1. Into that same stitch, yarn over, you put your hook in between the stitch and make another half double crochet. So now we have 1 half double crochet in the beginning, which is that joining row. Then we have 2 into the same row. So now you can see now there is a joining row before this next row. Okay, so this is the one we just made. You can see this place where the 2 rows are connecting before the next row. So into that space where the 2 rows are connecting, you're going to make 1 half double crochet there. And then on the stitch for this row, now the very first stitch for the second row, you're going to make 2 half double crochet into that first stitch there. Okay, so into the same stitch you place 2 half double crochet. Okay, so basically it's just like as if we are placing 3 half double crochet on every row. Okay, so into this next row, now first of all you place it into the line connecting the 2 rows, and then you place 2 half double crochet into this very first stitch that is for this row. Okay, so that is just the pattern we want to repeat for this row. So that is one. Then into that stitch there, you're going to be placing 2 half double crochets. Okay, and that is it. So you just go ahead and repeat this on all of the stitches all the way across until we are right back at where we started. Okay, so I'm at the end of that row. This is what it looks like all the way around. Okay, so when you get to the end of your row, what you have to do is to slip stitch to the top of the very first stitch that you have there. So you insert your hook into the top of that stitch there, yarn over and pull through all the loops on your hook. So you slip stitch to join. After you've done that, you chain 1, turn your hook, and then we are going to place half double crochet on all of the stitches all the way around. So now you want to pull your stitches apart. So this is our very first stitch, okay, and this is the top of that stitch. Okay, so I don't know if you can understand. This is our first stitch, this is the top of that stitch. This is our second stitch, this is the top of that stitch. This one you're seeing here is the slip stitch that we just made. Okay, so you want to pull your stitches apart and be able to tell the top of your very first stitch. So into the top of that stitch, that is where you want to make 2 single crochets stacked on each other. So once you have that, yarn over into the next stitch, you make a half double crochet. Yarn over into the next stitch, you make another half double crochet, and you're just placing half double crochet on all of the stitches all the way until you get to the end of the row. Okay, so this is it. So you just want to keep doing that. You keep placing half double crochet on all of the stitches all the way until we are right back at where we started again. Another thing is that for this row we are picking the both loops. Okay, like you know, for when we made this band we were picking only on the back loops to give it this ridged effect. Right now what we are going to do for this row and all the subsequent rows is that we are going to be picking on the 2 loops instead of just the back loop. Okay, so you're picking on both loops and then making your half double crochet on both loops and make your half double crochet. So that is one thing I just want you to take note of. So at this point, this is what the second row is looking like, and okay, I just want to show you how to place your very last stitch. Remember how we separated the stitches so that we can see our very last stitch. Okay, this was the first stitch we made, so this is going to be our last stitch. So this is the top of that stitch. Okay, so I still have 2 stitches left, which is this one, and then on the top of that very last stitch there, that is where you place your last half double crochet. And once you've done that, you just slip stitch to the top of the first one, chain 1, and then turn your hook. And then we are going to repeat this second row all the way around again until we get to the end of the row. Okay, so this is what you should be having right now, and you want to measure it. So at this point, from the top to the very last row there, I have about 4 point something, almost 4.5. Okay, almost 4.5. So I'm just going to keep doing this until I have a total of 5 stitches. So that should be about 2 or 3 more rows. Okay, so you just want to go ahead and keep repeating the second row until when you measure it, you should have a total of 5 stitches here. Okay, so at this point now I've made it up to that 5 inches. Okay, so you want to lay your work flat. Okay, make sure that it is laying real flat, and then you measure from the top to the bottom. Okay, so you can see I have a total of about 5 inches. So once we have this, now the next thing for us to do is to start increasing for the hip size. Okay, so that is going to fit us perfectly. So for us to know the amount of stitches we need to add for the hip size, we are first of all going to note our hip measurement. So you want to take a tape and measure around your hip. Okay, the fullest part of your hip. So for me, my hip is 38 inches. Okay, so once you have your hip size, now you want to minus 4 inches from it. Okay, so if yours is 40, you write 40 minus 4. Okay, so 38 minus 4 is 34 inches. So this is the length, the width I'm going to be using for this work. The reason we are doing this is because this work is still going to stretch. Okay, so we are doing this so that it is going to be a perfect fit and not slouchy on the body. Okay, so once you have that, the size you have, if yours is 40 minus 4, you have like 36. So you go ahead and do that and know the measurements that you're going to be needing. The next thing to do now is to measure the work, what we currently have. So you want to lay it real flat, make sure that it is real flat, okay, and not folded at any point. And then so once you have your work nice and flat like so, you want to take your tape and start from this end, and then you measure like so. So you want to measure at the bottom, as you can see what I'm doing. So once you do that, you take your measurements, and mine is around 17 inches, very close to 17, as you can see. So, and this is a half measurement. Okay, remember we have it into like this, so this is a half measurement, so I'm going to choose 17. So 17 plus 17 is going to be 34, and the measurement I need for the hip is 34. So as you can see, mine is already at that 34 inches that I need it to be, so I don't need to make any increases. But just in case yours is not yet up to 34, I'm going to show you how to make your increase. For example, let's say your hip is 40 and we do 40 minus 4, you're going to have 36. Okay, so this is 36 inches, right? So, and you measure across your work like so, and then just like I did, and you get 17, and 17 plus 17 is 34. So you can see that it is not yet up to that 36 that you need. We are now going to make increase, and if you measure yours and it is a little bit more than the actual measurement that you need, you don't have to do anything, you just have to follow me. Like, I don't have to make any increases, all right? But if yours still needs a few more inches to be up to that amount that you need it to be, like for example for this one now that we need it to be 36 but it is currently 34, I'm going to show you how to make your increase right now. So all you have to do is to take your tape and place it from one stitch, okay, from one half double crochet all the way to another half double crochet to where you have your 1 inch mark. Okay, so this is where the 1 inch mark is on the double crochet. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4. So I have a total of 4 stitches giving me 1 inch. All right, so you want to know how many stitches gives you an inch. All right, if yours might be 5, yours might be 6, it might be 3. It all depends on your hook size, your yarn, and your tension as well. So mine is 4 stitches, and remember I need to make this 36 and I currently have 34. So 36 minus 34 is 2 inches. That means we are supposed to add a total of 2 inches to this to make it that 36 for the hip that we need. All right, so all you have to do now is, right after you've noted how many stitches you need for 1 inch, so we need it for 2 inches, so 4 stitches equal 1 inch. That means, and we need it for 2 inches, so 2 times 4 is going to give us 8. So we need to add a total of 8 stitches in this work in order to balance it out to 36. Okay, so that is what you have to do. So you do your own calculations and know how many stitches you need to add in order to give you that hip measurement that you need. All right, and then once you have that, you're now going to take your stitch markers and then we are going to mark out on our work and then make the increases. So I don't have up to 6. We need 8 stitches, so I don't have up to 8 stitch markers, so I'm just going to make use of this yarn. Okay, so this is 4, 5, 6, and then I'll be needing another 2 more, okay, so that I can be able to mark out my stitches. So now I have a total of 8 stitch markers to use. So all you have to do is to just mark out strategic places on your work. You try to space it out. Okay, so you pick on this part, you attach a stitch marker. Okay, so that's 1 stitch marker. You pick on another part of your work. You try to separate it, okay, not so much and not so close together, just separate them evenly around your work. Okay, so you put another stitch marker there. For the normal stitch markers, you just place them like so. Okay, so you just go ahead and do this and place all the stitch markers all the way around your work until you have a total of 8 stitch markers, or the total number of stitch that you need to increase. You should have that total number of stitch markers marked on your work. All right, so after you're done placing the number of stitch markers you need depending on your total number of work, the next thing we are going to do now is to start making the next row. Okay, so whether you're supposed to continue as usual like mine, if yours does not need any increase, or you're going to increase, I'm going to show you what to do for this next row. Okay, so if yours doesn't need any increase, ignore the stitch markers, you don't need it. But if yours needs to make increases, you pay attention to these stitch markers because we are going to be making increases at each of the points where we have stitch markers. All right, so once this is where I last finished, so you turn your work and continue for the next row. Okay, so yeah, this is the next row of me to continue. So I'm just going to make my first starting stitch, which is 2 single crochet stacked on each other. Yarn over into the next stitch, you make a half double crochet. Yarn over into the next stitch, you make a half double crochet, and you just keep making half double crochet all the way until we get to this point where we have the stitch marker, and then I'll show you how to make the increase. So I'm at this point now where I have the stitch marker. Okay, what do you have to do if you're supposed to make an increase? Okay, for the people that need to make increases, just in case. Okay, if yours doesn't need to make any increase, ignore this part. So if you need to make an increase, you take out that stitch marker and then you're going to place 1 half double crochet into the same stitch. You place another half double crochet, so now you have 2 double crochet in the same stitch. All right, and then you just keep making 1 half double crochet into the next stitch, 1 half double crochet into the next stitch, and then repeat that all the way. And when you get to this part where you have this stitch marker again, you're going to make this same increase again by placing 2 half double crochet into the same stitch. All right, so that is it for if you need to make increases. So you just go ahead and repeat that on all of the places where you have stitch markers all around your work until you get to the end of the row. But if you're like me and you don't need to make any increase, okay, all you have to do, you don't have to place 2 in 1, you just make 1 half double crochet like we've been doing for the previous rows. All right, just keep placing half double crochet on all of the stitches until you get to the end of this row. So that is it for if you're making increase and if you're not making increase. So just go ahead and do what you're supposed to do for this row all the way around until you get to the end of the row, and I'll meet you there. Okay, so I'm at the end of that row. So when you get to the very last stitch there, you just want to slip stitch to the top of your very first stitch. Okay, you slip stitch, chain 1, and then you turn your work, and we are going to start making the next row. Okay, so whether you made increases or you did not make any increase, the next subsequent rows are all the same for the 2 different parts. Okay, so whether you made increase or you did not make any increase, the subsequent rows are going to be the same. So after this row that we just made now, whether you made increase on this row or you did not make increase on this row, the next rows we are going to make is just going to be the same thing we did before we started making this increase or no increase row. Okay, what do I mean by this? All you have to do is to place 1 half double crochet on every stitch all the way around and repeat that row after row, okay, until you have a total of 10 inches when you measure your work. So you lay it out flat like we did previously, and then you measure your work. So I have about 5.5, so I'm going to keep doing this until I have a total of about 10 inches. All right, so just go ahead and keep making yours until you have that amount, and then we'll come back. So remember, you're not making any increase or decrease, you're just going to keep placing 1 half double crochet on every stitch row after row until you have a total of 10 inches in length. Okay, so at this point now I have it the length I want it to be. Remember I said we are going to make it to be about 10 inches long. Okay, and this is what you have at this point now. It's looking like a mini skirt. You can go ahead and try it on at this point and see and make sure that it fits you well. Okay, so this is what the length is like. So you measure, you lay it out flat, like flatten it really well, smoothing it, and then you measure from top to bottom, and then you should have around 10 inches. Okay, so once you have this now, the next thing we are going to do is to start making the separate legs. So to start making the separate legs, we are going to fasten off first. So this part where we finished our last row, after that chain 1 there, you want to pull up a loop and then cut off that yarn there. Okay, so before we start making the crotch area, after you fasten off, we are going to mark out where we want our crotch area to be. So you want to make sure that this seam is on the side of your work, like so this part where we had our joining is on the side. So once you have that on the side, you flatten your work out, okay, and make sure that it is well flat, okay, and that this part is definitely on the side. And that should be the same for the inside part, the seam part of the waistband as well. So after you've laid it out flat and the seam is on the side, you want to mark out the middle stitch on this side, okay, and then you move on to this side as well, and you also mark out the middle stitch on this other side of the work as well. So once you've done that, now you make sure that the stitches on the front and the stitches on the back, after you've marked out the side stitches on this side, so you should have the same number of stitches on this side and you should have the same number of stitches on this side. After you've done that, you now go ahead to divide it again into 2. So for the front part from here, which is the same side, all the way to this other side, okay, where we have our stitch marker, you're going to divide it into 2 again at the middle. So you have the same stitches from here to here, and then you also have the same stitches from here to here. All right, so once you've done that, you repeat the same thing for the back side. You mark out the middle part, okay, by counting this you should have equal number of stitches from this point to this point and this point to this point. So essentially it's just like we divided our work, the total number of stitches, we divided it into 4, okay, with this seam being at the side. So once you have that, now you should have stitch markers on those middle points. So this is where we are going to attach and make our crotch. So to start making the crotch area, you want to attach your yarn into that part where you have your stitch marker at the center of your work. All right, so you take off that stitch marker, and that is where you're going to attach your yarn. So once you've attached your yarn, you're going to make a chain that is going to be enough up to 2 inches. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So I made a total number of 8 chains, and when I measure that chain, okay, just lay it out flat and measure. You can see it's about 2 inches. So the chain you should make should be about 2-inch chain. Once you have that, now you're going to attach that chain to this other side of the work where we have the stitch marker on the center of the back side of your work as well. So you take off that stitch marker there. So you're just going to attach it to that center part where you have your stitch marker to mark the center. Okay, and then you just slip stitch to join that chain. So this is what you should have, something like this. Okay, so once you have this, now we are now going to start working for one side of the leg. So walk in the round like this, and then once we are done with this part of the leg, we'll come back and make on this part of the leg. So to get started, you just want to chain one, turn your work like so. Okay, so you want to know the direction your previous stitch was. So this is the direction it was going. So for the next one, I have to turn like this in order to pick it in the correct direction. So once you've done that, now you just want to start picking on the chain stitches. Okay, so you want to pick on the very first chain and make your first half double crochet stitch. So remember, it's 2 single crochets stacked on each other. So once you've made your first half double crochet stitch, you yarn over into the next chain space, you make another half double crochet. Into the next chain space, you make half double crochet, and you're just going to place half double crochet on all of the chain stitches. Okay, so you should have the same number of stitches as the same number of chains. So since I have 8 chains, I should have a total of 8 stitches on my chains. So once you're done with the very last chain stitch there, remember that part where we attached our yarn, you're going to make 1 half double crochet into that stitch there. Okay, and then you just continue making half double crochet on all of the other stitches all the way until the end. So like this, you make 1 half double crochet into the next stitch, 1 half double crochet into the next stitch, 1 half double crochet, and you just repeat this pattern all the way around until we are right back at this point where we started. So this is what you should have at this point. So working all the way around for that row, when you get to this point where we have a stitch marker, you just take it off, and then you're going to just continue making your half double crochet on all of the stitches. Okay, you're not going to skip any stitch, just keep doing that until you get to the end of the row. So when you're done making the single crochet stitches all the way around, remember that very stitch where we attached our chain at this point, remember to place a half double crochet there. Okay, so once you're done with that, now you're going to slip stitch to the top of this stitch, which is the very first stitch that we have there. Okay, you slip stitch, chain 1, turn your work, and you're going to continue row 2. Okay, so for row 2, you're just going to insert your hook into the very first stitch there and make your starting double crochet stitch, which is 2 single crochets stacked on each other. Yarn over into the next stitch, make a half double crochet, yarn over into the next stitch, make a half double crochet, yarn over into the next stitch, make a half double crochet. You're just going to keep placing half double crochet on all of the stitches until you get to the end of the row. Okay, and then you slip stitch to join. Okay, so you're just going to keep repeating that row after row until you have it the length you want for the leg. So this is what you should currently have. Okay, so you're just going to keep repeating this part of the leg. Okay, and then I'm going to do a total of about, from this crotch part, this is the part where the leg part started, so from here down all the way I want to do about 3 inches in length, and so when I'm done I'll meet you. Alright, so I've made those number of rows. Like I said, I'll keep making it until I have about 3 inches in length, and that is exactly what I have. Okay, you can see, so starting from that place where we started making from the crotch area, you can see it measures about 3 inches. So that is what you should have for the leg. If you want it a bit longer, you can make it more, you can make more rows, but this is what you should have. So this is what this side of the leg is going to be looking like. So now after we are done with this, now we'll be switching on to our other color, which is the purple yarn. Okay, and then we are going to work on the leg ribbing. So we are going to, after you've made your extra chain one, you cut off the excess yarn, and then we are going to reattach with the purple yarn. Okay, so into that very first stitch there. Okay, remember, always pull your stitches apart to see the top of your first stitch. Okay, so this is the top of my first stitch here. I'm just going to attach this purple yarn. Okay, so once you have attached your yarn, chain 1, and we're going to make a single crochet into that same stitch where we attached our yarn, and then make another single crochet on top of that single crochet to give us the height of a half double crochet, and then into the next stitch you make a half double crochet, into the next stitch you make a half double crochet, and you're just going to repeat half double crochet on all the stitches all the way until we get to the end of the row. Okay, so after you're done placing the half double crochet with the purple yarn all the way to the end of the row, you're just going to slip stitch to the top of the very first stitch there to connect your row. So once you've done that, now we are going to make a half double crochet front post back post stitch for the next 2 rows. So you chain 1, turn your work, okay, into your very first stitch. Into your very first stitch, you want to pick between the posts like so. Instead of putting it on top of the stitch, you want to place your yarn between the posts like so and make a single crochet, and then make another single crochet by the side of that first single crochet, making it 2 single crochet stacked on each other. That's essentially what we've been doing for all the other rows. The only difference is that we are picking between the post of the stitches instead of on top. Okay, so that is our first front post half double crochet. So yarn over into this next half double crochet. You want to pick it from behind like so, okay, and make a half double crochet again. Yarn over into the next stitch here, you make a front post like so. Yarn over into the next stitch, you make a back post. So this is essentially what we'll be repeating for the remaining of all the stitches until we get to the end of this row, right back at this place where we started. So you make a front post like so, and then you make a back post. So you just want to go ahead and repeat this all the way around until you get to the end of the row. Alright, so when you get to the end of the row, make sure to place your, either is a front post or a back post depending on what stitch you have to make next on the very last stitch there. Mine is a front post. So after you've done that, now you're going to slip stitch to the top of the very first half double crochet that you have there. Okay, slip stitch to join your chain 1. You can leave it at this point, but I want to add more length to this, so I'm just going to turn my work and then into this very first stitch here. Now that is where it is a front post. Okay, so you look at the stitch, this is in the front and this one is at the back. So this is a front post. That means I'm going to be placing a front post on top of that stitch, so making the starting half double crochet stitch, which is 2 single crochets stacked on each other. After you've made your first stitch, which is the front post, the next should be a back post. So into that back post stitch there, you make a back post half double crochet. Okay, the next is a front post, so you make a front post half double crochet on top of it. So you're essentially just placing front post double crochet on the front post and back post double crochet on the back post, and you're just repeating that all the way until you get to the end of the row, and then you join the round as well. Okay, so when you get to the end of that third row, you're just going to slip stitch to join to the top of the very first stitch there. You chain 1, pull up a loop, and then cut off the excess yarn. So that will be it for this part of the leg. Okay, so this is what you should have. Okay, so we are going to go ahead now and make this other part as well. It's just exactly the same thing we did here, we are going to do here. Okay, so you want to take your yellow yarn, okay, because we are going to repeat the same yellow part here then before we do the purple. So you take your yellow yarn, okay, and you mark where the seam is on this side of the work. Okay, that is where we are going to attach our yarn on this side and continue working. Okay, so this is where that seam is. Okay, you're going to attach your yarn right into the base of that crotch area. Okay, so into the base of that very first stitch there, that is where you want to attach your yarn. Okay, so once you have attached your yarn, now you want to check the direction your work is supposed to go, like we did previously. So this was the direction I worked previously, meaning that for this one I'm supposed to work like this backwards. So you just want to turn your work, all right, and then you're going to start working on the direction you should. So for this row now, this part now, which is the crotch area, okay, that where we made a chain for the center, you're going to place half double crochets on top of all of the chain stitches. And remember that we had 8 chains here, so you should have a total of 8 half double crochet, okay, corresponding with the previous 8 that we have here. Then one half double crochet into each of the beginning stitches where we attached the chains. Okay, so that is where we place this very first where we attached our yarn now. So we are going to make a half double crochet into that same stitch space. Okay, so making the starting half double crochet, which is 2 single crochets stacked on each other. So once you have that, now you yarn over, okay, into the very first stitch there, you're going to place a half double crochet at the base of that stitch. Okay, after that you can see the next stitch, you place a half double crochet right on top of it, yarn over into the very next stitch, you place a half double crochet on top of it. Okay, into the next stitch I place another half double crochet. I'm just going to place half double crochet on all of the stitches, and when I get to this point, remember to place your half double crochet into this place, and then you place half double crochet on all of the stitches all the way around. Okay, and you're going to repeat that row after row, row after row, until you have a total of about 3 inches, just like we had here. Then you're going to attach your other color of yarn, for me which is purple, and then make this ribbed part. So that is just it. So go ahead and repeat the same exact thing we did here on this other part of the leg, and I'll meet you when we are done. So after you're done with the second leg, this is what you should have, okay, for your shirts. So at this point you can choose to leave it as it is, but we are going to go ahead and attach the appliques. Okay, and just a quick note, this part where we added the ribbon stitch is just about 1 inch. Okay, you can see It's just about an inch, total of 3 rows. Okay, so once we are done with that now for the 2 legs, the next thing we are going to do is to attach the applique, which is the skull applique, right? And I'm just going to place it like so. Okay, so this one now will be closer to the side, like so. This one will be somewhere in the middle. Okay, and then the last one will be somewhere closer to this side. Okay, let me turn it like this so that you can get a clearer picture. So this is what my applique is looking like. So that is how I want it to be. So I'm just going to go ahead and pin this. Okay, so you want to take your pin and then pin them to the part of the work where you want it to be. So after you're done pinning the way you want it to be on your work, so this is what I have. So it's like a diagonal from the hip down to this part, to the leg part. Okay, I'm going to repeat the same thing on this other side as well. So I'm going to start from the top like so, then the third one around the middle, and then the final one close to the leg. So I'm going to go ahead and pin these ones as well, and then I'll come back and show you how to sew them to the work. Okay, so I later decided to change the placement. You know, I said we'll do it like this diagonally, but I figured this way is much better. All right, so in kind of like this, so 1, 2 and 3. So I'm going to rearrange this one, 1, 2 and then 3. Okay, and then we'll start sewing them. So to start sewing, you want to thread your needle, okay, and make sure that you've tied the end of your thread. Okay, and your sewing yarn should be the same color as the yarn of your skull applique. Okay, so once we've done that, now we are going to start sewing. So let's start sewing from this one. We are going to pass our needle from the wrong side of the work, which is the inside. Okay, this part where this skull, okay, we want to pass our needle out from under to this part of the work. Okay, don't pull everything finished, then you pass the yarn back down inside, just a little. Don't go too much, just a little, close to where it came out. Okay, you pass it back out to the back, and then you pick in between your yarn, okay, so as to secure it. So once you've secured your yarn tightly, we are going to put our needle through again, but this time around we want it to come out at the top of our applique like this. So you want to lay your skull flat, try to arrange it, okay, and then you're passing your needle through, okay, from under your work, and try for it to come out in between these V stitches. That is where your needle should come out. Okay, so this is what it looks like at the back. Okay, so once your needle is out, now we are going to start sewing all the way around. And to sew, you have to put your needle through. This is the next stitch now. This is where our needle is. So this is the next stitch. You put your needle through that stitch there, okay, and then pass it under. Your pitch should be out of your work like this. So this is where your needle should be, and then you kind of use it from under there too. You're going to skip like 1, 2, 3, okay, and then on the 4th stitch there, that is where your needle should come out in that little V loop there, okay, from behind your work. So this is how it would look like under there, just like how you normally sew your clothes. The only difference is just that you're picking in between this V. Now this is the, after this place down here, you put it through, it comes out under, your needle comes out under. Okay, so this is my needle, and then you kind of, I don't know how you will see this, okay, but an easier way is once it comes out under, is either you do this and then your needle comes back on top but into this little V stitch here, okay, and then you pull your needle through. Okay, don't pull too tightly, and as you work, you try to arrange the applique to make sure that it's still giving the skull shape. And if you notice, I've not removed the pins I'm using to hold it in place. Okay, so you should be careful so that you don't injure yourself. So if you don't know how to do the method I just previously did, what you just have to do, once you pull your needle through this closest stitch to where you have your yarn out now, in between that stitch there, and your needle comes out under, okay, you can just pull it from under there, pull your needle through, and then you want to put it to come out, okay, into the next little V here. So you're going, this is where our needle was, we put it through, you skip a few stitches in the back and then come out into that, in between that stitches on top like so. So you can see. So once you get to, if you notice, if you look at our skull, you see that it is like this, then it kind of came down like this, like this, like this. So it's kind of like this. That is how our skull is. So when you get to this point where it is supposed to fold inwards, you make sure that your yarn is out on top like so, and then you're going to put it into the base of that stitch, as you can see me doing. Okay, so this is it. You just put your needle through to this side, okay, and then you pass it back out into the next stitch close to where this one is. So you pass it out into the next stitch and then just pull it. Okay, so that is what you should have for that end. This is going to help us still retain that curved shape. Okay, so once you've done that, now you move on to continue just sewing around. Okay, you put your needle through in between that stitch there, and then you pick the next stitch on the other side from under. So make sure that as you're putting your work through, that it is picking the body of your shorts. Okay, that is the only way it is going to join. If you're only picking on the applique, it would not join. So make sure that you're picking the body of your shorts as well. All right, so you put your needle through, okay, and then pass it out into the other side. The thing you just want to keep note of is to make sure that you're putting your needle through and in between those stitches. Okay, so like that, you put your needle through, it goes out under. Like I said, it will always come out under, and then you pass your needle from under to the top again like this. Now at this point now we are done sewing this part, so you can remove your pin. So you can see all these parts now have attached to our work. So you continue sewing. Remember what I said, when you get to this part where we have this curve inwards, you're going to pick the base of the stitch, okay, and then come out right to this very next stitch close to where we just picked. So I'm going to come out right closest to this place. So this is the next stitch there. Okay, you come out from there and then you pull it through. So this is going to help it retain that shape. All right, and like I said, always remember to arrange your applique while you sew, and then you just continue. You pick the next stitch and put your needle through from the other side, and just continue like that all the way until we are at this place where we started sewing. Okay, so put your needle through, pass it through in between the stitches. So now we are right back at where we started. You can take off this other pin as well. So you can see we have joined this applique now. Once you've achieved this, you just want to put your needle through so it comes out under, and then you pull it all the way out. Okay, and then you pick just in between some stitches like so, and then you wrap your yarn around twice, and then you put your needle through and then tighten it. Okay, once you've done that, now you just want to pick a few stitches to weave in your end like so, and then cut off the excess yarn. So just like that, now you can see that we have already attached this applique. Okay, so you go ahead and repeat the same thing on all of the other appliques and then join your work. And remember, like I said, always arrange your stitches well. You arrange your applique well. Okay, always arrange your applique well. Okay, so this is the one we just attached. Okay, so you try to arrange your applique well. I'm just going to go ahead and attach all these other ones off camera, and then we'll come back. Okay, so after you're done attaching your applique, this is what it should look like. Okay, so the next thing for us to do now is to weave in all these ends that we have hanging out of our work. So to do that, you turn your work to the wrong side. Okay, you pick a yarn like this yellow yarn. Now I'm going to weave it into the yellow part. So you pick a few stitches in between the stitches like so, and then you feed your yarn through the needle and then pull it through. Okay, once you've done that, now you're going to cut off the excess remaining yarn. Okay, so once you've done that, now you're going to also do that for the other part. So for this purple side, you weave it into the purple part of your work. So you pick a few of the stitches depending on the length of the yarn you want to weave in, and then you feed the yarn through the needle like so, and then you push the needle through the stitches. Okay, you repeat that for this one as well. So like I said, you're doing the weaving in on the wrong side of your work, not on the right side, so you can turn it inside out and repeat that. So all these places I'm going to go ahead and weave them in. All right, another thing I want us to take note of is that the waistband, like for me the waistband fits perfectly, but just in case yours doesn't, maybe it's a bit snug or you want it to be more tight, you can make a strap and put it, okay, to the waist so that you can be able to tie it, or you can attach an elastic inside of the waistband so that this is going to fit as tight as you want it. But for me this is perfectly okay, so that is just another thing I want to tell you. And that will be all for this tutorial. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to this channel, and leave a comment down below. You can also check out my other videos. Thank you for watching, and see you in my next tutorial. Bye.